All right, thanks everybody for joining. My name is Scott Heiss with Abacus Next. I see some familiar names out there. We still have a few more people rolling in. We're going to be talking about setting up flat fee matters inside of Abacus Accounting. Well, Abacus Law, actually, a little of both. So we'll kind of go back and forth. First, before we get started, just by clicking your little hand raising button there, can you just validate for me that you can see my Abacus Accounting program on the screen? Just click the little hand raising button if you can. All right, perfect. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. And I'll go ahead and lower your hands there. There we go. And because you did that, I guess it's safe to assume that everybody can hear me as well. So I won't have you raise your hands for that. I also have my colleague Anna on the line as well. She's from our marketing team, and she's going to be reading out your questions towards the end of the session. We'll try and get to everybody's questions. We have a lot of people on this webinar, so we'll do our best to ask questions. If you have questions, please utilize the chat box. You'll notice that you're muted. That's by design. Can't have people talking over everybody. So use that chat box and ask all of your questions there. Again, we'll try to get to as many as we can for the time allotted. If we can't get to them, don't worry, we keep a log of all of that, so we will follow up with you by email afterwards. If your questions are a little more advanced, we'll let you know and potentially maybe set up a one-on-one conversation with you, so that we're making the best use of the time. This webinar is designed to be kind of like a high level, setting up a flat fee case in Abacus Law. So we're not going to dive into all kinds of crazy details. So if you have any additional questions, more advanced stuff, please just let us know. You can contact us anytime at training@abacusnext.com, and we can get a training session set up for you. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start actually in Abacus Accounting just to kind of talk about what our intentions are here today. And again, it's setting up the flat fee case. So assuming that you already have the case inside of Abacus Law, hopefully you used an intake form to do that. If you're not using an intake form, I suggest checking the help guide and learning how to do that. It's a very easy way to set up your cases. But assuming you already have your cases created and they're showing in the Abacus Accounting program, you can always access the basic accounting defaults for each of your matters by clicking the matters icon on your accounting toolbar. Okay, that's the one with the little manila folder there. If you click that, that's going to open up your browse window of all of your cases, and then you would just choose the case that you want to search for and click open. And that's going to open up what we call the matter maintenance window. So you should think of this matter maintenance window as the default settings for the case. Notice down below we have a tab specific to billing information. Okay, if I click that billing tab there, I need to tell my program, is this matter a flat fee matter? Is it an hourly matter? Is it contingency? Okay, that's what we call the billing mode. We also need to make sure that we specify the billing frequency, okay? So when you're creating your cases and you get to that step where you need to tell the system how this case is being billed, this is what you need to think about, okay? You're gonna select, if it's a flat fee case, obviously, flat fee, okay, from your billing mode options. Notice the difference here though. If this is an hourly case, let's see here. If this is an hourly case, notice how my little box down below, that disappeared, okay? Because if it's an hourly case, it's being billed against some sort of hourly rate that we've set up. When I click flat fee, I get my little flat fee box, and this is where I have to enter in what that flat fee is going to be. Now, obviously, that's going to vary based off the case type. And in addition to that variance, it's also could potentially vary based off of the frequency. Now, with most flat fee cases and contingency cases for that matter, where you also have to enter in kind of a flat amount. But for flat fee cases, we usually see those billing frequencies usually somewhere around end of matter, or a very popular way, payment schedule. Okay, payment schedule is a very popular way to do flat fee cases. As a matter of fact, the training case that we're looking at today is a criminal defense case where we're basically, giving a $5,000 flat fee for this case, and we're putting it on a payment schedule, okay? Notice another thing that happened. I don't know if you saw that. When I selected payment schedule as my billing frequency, an additional tab appeared in the matter maintenance, okay? As opposed to monthly, it goes away, okay? Anytime you select payment schedule, you get this new tab, and this is very handy because this payment schedule tab allows you to break out all of those payments, okay? Now, I already have some in here for this particular case, but you can actually set these up to be based off of the total amount of the installment payment or the total amount of payments in general. So in other words, if it's a $5,000 fee and I want to set this up so that my client is paying me $200 biweekly, as this one is, you can see it just does the math for me and it breaks all of that out, okay? Now, I can obviously go through and I can delete all these and change them if I need to, but you don't have to do it by payment amount. You can also do it by number of installments. So I could say $5,000 and, we're going to do it in 20 installment payments, and it would do the math. To show you, what I'll do is I'll cancel out of this. I'll go back into matter maintenance, and let me see if I can just change one real quick so that you can see this live. Make that a payment schedule. Okay. You'll notice now on this payment schedule for my flat fee, it says my total flat fee up here is $5,000. I need to tell the system how I want this broken out. Okay. Do I want to calculate by installment amount, or do I want to calculate by number of installments? So usually, in a situation like that, you're probably going to say something like, well, how much can you pay, and what time of the month? So calculate by installment amount is a very popular, calculate by installment amount is a very popular way to do that. So we would come in here and we would just put in whatever that installment amount is. We would put in our first due date, whatever that may be, okay? And then put in our time interval, okay? Is it monthly payments? Is it bi-weekly payments? And then whatever you select, when you choose add, it's going to break all those payments out for you. So that's a really nice tool, when you have those flat fee cases that are on a schedule, okay? So again, just to recap, when we are needing to set our cases up as a flat fee case, once we have that case created inside of our AbacusLaw program and it's pushed over into our accounting program, we need to make sure that that case is set up with a billing mode of flat fee with the appropriate billing frequency, whether it's end of matter, payment schedule, what have you, okay? So we'll go ahead and save that and make sure that that stays the way it is. There we go, successfully modified. And so another thing that we want to talk about actually is back in the matter maintenance. So I'll go back in there even though I already saved it. I do want to point this out to you. If you've ever ran bills inside of AbacusLaw, and I mean like the actual invoices, that you're presenting to your client, you've seen potentially the different layouts that can occur, right, on that invoice. If you've ever done hourly billing, you see that there's usually a big section in the bill for fees, and there's a section in there for expenses and stuff like that. It's very important when you are choosing your billing mode to make sure that you also select the correct billing format code. The billing format code is that actual layout of the bill, okay? Now, I have payment schedule selected for my billing frequency, so by default, my billing code automatically gets set to scheduled flat fee, okay? So that way, my invoice that I give my client, will show a breakout of payment dates and, stuff like that. But let's say I'm not. Maybe it's not a scheduled payment. Maybe it's like an end of matter or, some other setting. I need to make sure that I'm putting in the appropriate code. If it's not a scheduled flat fee, I would say 99.9% of the time, the correct format code is going to be general, okay, general, as opposed to an hourly format, okay? And, if you're new to the program and you've never seen these before, feel free to create a test case, call it, test versus test or doe v test or something like that, and run some bills with the different format codes and see what they look like, okay? Get a feel for what those layouts look like, and you can always change them and edit them if you need to. So for anything usually outside of a payment schedule billing frequency, you're probably going to have the billing format code set to general. If you do that, you need to just be mindful of the information that shows on that invoice, because there is a potential of you maybe wanting to edit that, okay? You might have some things on there you don't want to show, okay, to your client. So just keep that in mind. Become familiar with those layouts so you'll know what to fix. And then if you need help editing those invoices, just let us know, and we can point you in the right direction there, okay? So that would be the billing format code, though. Again, I'm going to keep mine actually set to schedule flat fee, payment schedule, okay? Now, again, I'll save this, and that should save all of your changes for the default matter maintenance for that case. Now, when you're running your invoice, and we're not going to get into actually running the bills today, that's a topic for another day, or if you want some training on that, please let us know, and we can do that. Again, it's training@abacusnext.com. But when you get into your print bill phase where you're actually creating that bill, you can pull up all of those flat fee matters just by billing by group and using your billing mode of flat fee, okay? So that way, any flat fee case that's in your system can actually be pulled up, and you can run the invoices for them. Now, a lot of times with the flat fee cases, especially if they're being billed at the end of the matter, you may select the bill individually rather than identifying that by group. So if you do it individually, you just pick it by name, okay? You would just choose that case by name, add it to your billing run, and then at that point, you can preview, print, email, download, that bill however you see fit, okay? And then this would be a general layout of what, that flat fee case would look like. So that's kind of the general topics of setting up a flat fee case. So what I'll do now is I'll open it up to questions, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. So Anna, I'll turn it over to you if you want to read the questions to me out of the chat box.
Thank you, Scott. Nancy wants to know, if it is set up by payment schedule, will Abacus prompt when to send the bill?
So I think you mean do you mean like in some sort of calendar alert or something like that? It wouldn't do it in some sort of calendar alert. Although what I would recommend, and this is something I usually teach people to do, or at least recommend they do, a lot of times with payment schedule cases, it's really nice to make a rule that can be based off of that payment schedule, and you can actually have those on your calendar in the reminder sections. But if you have matters set up in accounting that have payments due, yes, much like when you log into your program, if you get alerts that say you have items waiting to be posted, you have items waiting to be merged, you'll also receive alerts for things like that as well.
Great. And what if you have flat fees throughout the matter? For example, flat fee up to pre-trial conference or plea, and additional flat fees beyond that and trial. So
it sounds like you're actually describing flat charges and maybe not a total flat fee. But either way, I guess I'll kind of address it from both angles. Don't anybody misunderstand the difference between, let me just open up a time ticket window here real quick. Don't misunderstand the difference between a flat charge and a flat fee case. Okay, these are two different things. You can put a flat charge for an item where you actually put in the dollar value of that item against an hourly case. Okay, that's not an uncommon thing. But if you're talking about you just have different flat fee levels throughout the case, you can actually change that as the case progresses inside of accounting. Okay, you have the ability to do that actually inside of the accounting program. You just need to update, whatever that amount is. Okay.
Perfect. The next question is, can you get a report to see upcoming scheduled payments for the month for the flat fees?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a report, I think, that's specific to that. Let me see here. I don't recall off the top of my head which report it is, so I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. It's going to be under probably one of either Matter, potentially, but I believe there's one specifically called Scheduled Payments. So if you look through flat fee schedule detail, right there. So if you look at that, you can do this by client, you can do this by individual matter, or you can do this for all, and you can also set it for a specific date range as well. Okay. If anybody has any other questions about different reports that you can run in AbacusLaw, we actually have a great knowledge base article on our website. If you go to our knowledge base, and you just run a search inside of that knowledge base for reports, you'll see that there is a knowledge base article in there called Quick Guide to Accounting Reports, and it will actually tell you what each report shows you and how it can be sorted. So it's a very, very handy article.
Thank you, Scott. Mark wants to know, how do you allocate flat fee payments by biller?
So it sounds like you're actually referencing something that's been brought up multiple times in the past, and this is one of those things where you're talking about allocating fees for for any non-hourly matter. And actually, in the next release, I think it's the next release, it's version 23.5, which is currently in beta testing. We have actually built in a feature that allows you to allocate fees to the responsible attorney, and there's actually, or multiple attorneys, I should say, and it's actually a feature that you can turn on or turn off. So when it's turned on, all fees that are billed and paid are actually allocated to the responsible timekeeper for the flat fee matter, and when it's turned off, the fees are allocated amongst the timekeepers that worked on the matter during the billing cycle. So the total amount of fees allocated to the timekeepers, they don't exceed the flat fee amount. The fees allocated to each timekeeper, they're basically in proportion to what they actually worked. So you're going to have the ability to turn that on or off. And I believe that's going to be a feature located under File, Setup, Company Preferences. So this is a company-wide feature that you can turn on and off. And once this pulls up here, oh, it's on my other monitor. Let's pull that up. Okay, you'll actually have a checkbox on this General tab that allows you to utilize that feature either on or off there. So you should be getting a notification about the new release, sometime here in the near future. I know it's going to be coming out very soon. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not an administrator in your Abacus program, you may want to get in contact with your administrator in your firm and make sure that they are being mindful of those update information blasts that we send out, so that you guys are, you're aware of what's coming and when it's coming.
And Scott, a few people were wondering where the knowledge base is located and how to access it.
Absolutely. Here, I'll tell you what, I will show you a real live demo. If you just give me one sec. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this over to my other screen. So give me just one moment. Make sure I have all my ducks in a row here. Okay. So, and this is definitely worth a bookmark to anybody out there, especially if you're new to the program. AbacusNext.com, that is our main website, okay? If you click More over here on the right side, underneath Support, we have some different areas where you can get help, okay? This is like on your own knowledge, and then also support knowledge if you need to contact somebody there. So knowledge bases is listed right there, the third one down. And when you click that, it will take you to kind of the menu of our products. So you would want to just choose the right program, okay, AbacusLaw, and that's going to open up our knowledge base for AbacusLaw. And then inside of this knowledge base, you have the ability to actually run searches right here. So if I were to type in reports and hit enter, that's going to pull up anything that hits on that criteria. I think it's the third or fourth one down. Yep, there you go. Quick guide to accounting reports, and that should actually break out, all the different reports that you have, and it actually shows you, what each one does. So yeah, I would take a look at that. Another way you can quickly access help is actually within the program itself. Okay, anytime you have a screen open, whether it's in AbacusLaw or Abacus Accounting, if you hit the F1 key on your keyboard, that will actually open up the help reference guides for you, and those are all searchable as well. So we have some, a multitude of ways that you can, get, self-service access. Okay, just remember that F1 key on your keyboard. That's direct access to the help guides.
Thank you for that. The next question is, how do I show the flat fee balance due?
So you can do that in report format. You can also do it, it automatically shows on the invoice itself. So if it's in like a payment schedule or something like that, you're going to see that. It's going to be a breakdown of payment history and then the updated balance. So I would just run probably just a flat fee report, and it would show you that. Also, you can always check inside of your matter billing activity, okay, for your cases. You should be able to find detail there as well. Just make sure you look there for any information. And then also, inside of AbacusLaw, if you have a case open, let me just pull one up real quick. We have a very handy little button at the bottom of your matter screens that can provide you, notice the button at the bottom that says accounting. If you click that, you've got accounting summary information, you've got accounting details, billing activity, scheduled payments. This is very good for those flat fee scheduled payment cases. When the client calls in and says, hey, when's my next payment due? You can actually just pull up their matter, click that scheduled payments option. That's going to give you your balance. That's going to give you your payment schedule for those flat fee cases and all that good stuff. So, you could view that information a few different ways in the program.
If you started a case with a flat fee and then the attorney decides to bill another flat fee on the same case, how would you do that?
Let me, Anna, if you could just make note if we ask that question, I'll follow up with that person afterwards to talk about that, because there's a couple different ways you could actually approach that scenario, but I want to get an idea from you, a little bit more detail so I can give you the best option. So Anna, please make note of that person so I can follow up with them afterwards. But you actually just reminded me of another good point. When you run a flat fee case through the billing process, okay? In other words, you run your pre-bill, you print your bill out, and then you do your final step of posting your bill. You need to be aware that when you post a bill for a flat fee case, the status of that case underneath your matter maintenance actually changes to billed. Okay, it does it by default. So I guess inadvertently, to answer your question, one of the ways you would do that is you would change it back to unbilled. Okay, and you would update the amount. Okay, but again, I want to follow up with you separately on that and talk about the scenario there. But I want everybody to just be aware of that. Okay, when you post an invoice, when you post the bill, automatically the system changes that case, changes the status from unbilled to billed, because it's flat fee and you've posted the bill. So you've basically told the program, I've given this, the invoice to this client, and they know that they owe me $5,000 now. So it's billed. I'm just awaiting payment. So you would, if you are going to bill additionally after that, you have to come back in here and change that status back to unbilled. So just a little pro tip there for you.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, I will make sure that you get back to all the people that had similar questions. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Charlene was wondering, is there going to be a feature that allows to bill a flat fee plus override charges?
Well, that's a great question, Charlene. I will look into that for you. And again, Anna, if you could just jot down Charlene's contact info and her question, I will follow up with you after I talk to some other people, some of my colleagues.
Great. And Yuri wants to know, is flat fee charge like task-based code billing?
So no, it's not. So, I mean, are there similar things? Yeah, there are some similarities between the two. But task-based billing is kind of a totally different animal. And anybody who's ever done, task-based billing, does it frequently inside of Abacus is probably aware of that. So task-based billing is where you're actually applying values to different actions, tasks, so to speak, that you take within a case. So, we'll see this in different types of law. I think it's very prominent in anything that you're billing or that's being approved by the court or maybe potentially an insurance company or something like that. You'll have to forgive me, I'm not an attorney. So I think you see it quite often there. But no, they're not the same thing, although, I mean, I guess technically they probably have some overlap in characteristic.
All right, last question here from Bridget. When I set up a new a new client in AbacusLaw and fill in the flat fee for the client, how do I show the flat fee balance due in Abacus accounting?
So it should actually automatically do that for you. So what I'm assuming, Bridget, you're saying is you use the intake form. So in other words, for anybody who doesn't know this, if you're creating cases for your firm, you really need to be using an intake form, okay, to do that. So if I were to do just a standard new case defendant, we'll pretend it's a criminal case, I fill out my intake form here. When I click this button at the bottom that says create records and close, what I get is I get a pop-up window automatically that lets me enter in different accounting defaults, one of which is the billing mode. So if I deem at that point that the case is going to be a flat fee case and I put in my flat fee amount there, then in theory, it should also carry over into accounting in my matter maintenance. So I should immediately, after I enter that in and it's saved, immediately that information should be pushed over into accounting, and I should be able to go into matter maintenance and open that up and see on my billing tab that it is, set as flat fee and it does have, a dollar amount there. Now, if you haven't, I know for a fact in that window during the intake process, I don't believe there is a way to set the payment schedule right then and there. So if there's a payment schedule, you will have to go in and mark that, I believe. So just be mindful of that as well.
Thank you so much, Scott. I know we have a few more unanswered questions, but unfortunately we're running out of time. But I will make sure to forward all your questions to Scott, and he will get back to you individually. Scott, thank you so much for hosting today's webinar.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Make sure to sign up for next Thursday free training as well, and enjoy your afternoon.
Have a great day, everyone.